Roots of history run deep through Stafford, Virginia. We've raised leaders, featured artists, and honored those heroes among us. We've learned from the battles fought, and we look to the future with hope. We take this time to focus on what makes us exceptional, while constantly remembering where we came from. We're always open to fresh ideas and innovation, and savor all of the flavor at our fingertips. We find inspiration in our craftsmanship, and there's always a hidden gem around every corner. Find yours. Rediscover Stafford.
So, happy, healthy fishing, everyone. Welcome back for round 2, our 11 o'clock broadcast. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's been contributing this morning to a pretty tough grind from, as I understand it, what's going on out there in the field. Right now, we know we've got a lot of storms that have slammed the East Coast. A lot of times what's happening is the cell phone service is going out, all the power is going out, so it's making it very difficult as far as trying to get people in for broadcasting. So hopefully we can get Greg in here in just a second. I think we're going to be able to. There he is. Greg.
Well, hello.
How is the fishing?
I just caught another one. It's been a while.
Well, that's good, though. I can see the smile come back.
Yeah, it's super depressing.
It's that mental game we talked about.
You gotta grind it out, man.
You do. It makes it worth the payoff, though, doesn't it?
Yes.
It absolutely does. It does. And so, yeah, we were talking to some of for the few moments that we did have this morning, we were talking with you and Mike and John as well. You know, putting those numbers up on the board, it really has been tough. John seems to be doing pretty well for himself today too, as he was the top of the leaderboard as we last checked. What about you? What's the strategy? Is it still the same right now? You still continuing on?
It's junk fishing 101, man. It really is. Man, I don't even know what to tell you. There's no pattern whatsoever. It's just you got to be patient, man. It's kind of like I attribute to like sitting at a dock, with, just got to wait for the fish to come to you, man. I hate that. I want to go to the fish, but I've got to sit here and literally have it on spot lock all day and just wait for the fish to come to you, man. That's just a fishing tidal fisheries, man. Yep.
Yeah, it is a very tough thing to do, especially when it's like anglers like you and myself. I have to be in the move. If I'm finesse fishing, I'm still in the move, but I'm like you. I don't like being static.
I got fishing ADHD, man. I mean, I just, it's just horrible.
It is. And that's why I change things so often. Like if I for some reason, if I just start to question what it is that I'm doing, that's when I feel like I have to go with my gut and change it up a little bit. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
It doesn't. Exactly. I mean, that's it. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just part of this great sport, man. It's just figuring out this puzzle. I mean, look, let's be honest, fishing in August, very difficult.
Oh my God. Absolutely. You've got all the
inclement weather. Hardest month to fish, so, but
hottest month of the year, you've got inclement weather, because of all the storms. It makes it so difficult already on top of everything to exacerbate the situation. What do you think is going on in the South then? So, we were talking with Jeremy Baker. He was on before. He started to move to finesse fishing because he's kind of a power fisherman too. He likes to go tough line. He likes to hit those spinner baits, those buzz baits. But then he had to switch over to finesse. I mean, he had a couple of bites when we had him on broadcasted before. But what do you think about the South? What do you think they're facing against now?
Man, obviously they're in 100-degree temperatures, man. It all depends, obviously, on how the lake is. If it's got grass in it, they're going to be, deep underneath that grass mat, be punching mats most of the day. If it's an open lake, they're going to be hooker under docks, flipping and skipping Cincos is probably the way to go. Again, you're not going to power your way through the summertime, you know what I mean? Unless it's in the evening or in the first thing in the morning. You've got to even throw a Ned rig, for God's sake, whatever it takes you know, to get a bite, man. And, you know, something we did at St. Clair, you know, we weren't victorious, but we did catch fish. Is you had to downsize, and, you know, you just got to be patient, man, and put it right on the bottom and see what happens, man. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that too.
To the bottom.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember seeing that too. You had the grass, and you just had to keep it right above the grass or lay it on the edges there. Now, but today the level of the tidal basin it's coming up pretty good, right? Right now, you should be sitting.
We are at max high tide. Yeah, we're at peak high tide, I think, right now, bud. And so it's at slack right now. That really the current's not doing anything.
So have you got to the point to where? Oh, I think I lost your audio.
I want slack tide. So
okay, I got you back. Yeah. So yeah, with the tidal basin, if anyone who's watching the broadcast right now, if you never fished the tidal basin, it is such a pain. Oh my God, it's one of those you love it when you can get it at its perfect moment. And I wouldn't take anywhere else against it. It's so fruitful whenever you have that. But other times people look at the tidal basin as being somewhat infinitesimal in the grand scheme of things. They'll stick to the rivers, the lakes, and the reservoirs. I know that you're on the tidal basin quite a bit. What is your preference? Are you? Does that show kind of one of the things about you that you really like? You like to challenge yourself and push yourself on the tidal basin like that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, you grow up on the tidal basin. It's funny because you go to these rivers and you go to these lakes, you know, all across the country that don't have a tidal flow. And like you get there and you're like, okay, when's the current moving? You know, when's high tide? When's low tide? I mean, it's just ingrained in you. Like you expect water movement, you know what I mean? And to be fair, like, you know, that's why I think I do pretty well in the Tennessee River system because there is current and they're constantly generating and the water levels go up and down. And so it's just, that's kind of the only thing I really consider more familiar to the tidal fisheries is the Tennessee River system and how much that fluctuates. So that's kind of stuff I love to fish, man. I don't like stagnant water. You know what I mean? Just
you don't like the same level water, you mean?
Exactly. Same level water, right. Yeah. Like a lake that just doesn't move, you know? Now there's naturally created currents within lakes.
I was going to say the wind pushing across the top there, you're still going to get a little bit of flow. I mean, it's still, but I get what you're saying though. So I've never fished the Tennessee River system like you're talking about. However, I have been out fishing on the river. I grew up fishing on the river. So I absolutely have a love for it. My problem is that I got used to the reservoirs and the lakes. And I know that those are going to keep those hot spots that I like to go back to and try to nail those big boys on. Because as you start to get these bass that get into the bigger sizes, 4, 5, 6 pounders, they are definitely territorial. They're going to go back to those areas, and you can go back and try to find them the next day if you're fishing a multi-day tournament.
Correct.
So that was one of my favorite things. I guess it's just because I got used to it. You know, even though I'm growing up on the river, if I go home, I'll go back to that. I definitely won't be hitting any kind of lakes or anything like that. But in Virginia, I don't spend as much time on the tidal basin as I used to. I'll say that. I guess it was maybe it kind of tinged me a little bit as far as staying away from it. Maybe I got to take some of your advice. Take from your book.
To be honest with you, man, I mean, it can hurt you as a fisherman across the nation, though, because, you know, I have to say it, man. The grass here, it's different from like a grass fishery down south. It's just different. I mean, because the grass line moves up and down, and so you gotta fish usually edges, or if you're finding just different things in the grass on a tidal fishery than you do on a normal grass lake. You know what I mean? And I think it's actually wound up hurting me, you know, traveling around and fishing these tournaments and stuff because, you know, I'm used to, you know, ambush points and current flow in different areas, and it's hard to get the Potomac River out of your head. You know what I mean?
It is 100%. I mean, you think about how ubiquitous it is when it comes to Northern Virginia, and then you start to look around and find out those areas that you want to go fish and try to hit up. Either they're choked out, they're completely inundated with anglers that are sitting there in the tournaments. Like today with yourself, you've got MBKBA just down the road. Have you seen any fellow anglers out there from there right now lately?
Yeah, they're around. They're certainly around. So, yeah. Hey, Jim, I'll be right back, buddy.
No problem. I'll see you in a minute.
Yep.
All right. So while Greg takes off, we're going to go ahead and let me review the real quick. unmute him so that way he can do his thing. So, yeah, let me go ahead and hit up Fish and Cast real quick. I'm going to go ahead and update the boards because I want to bring everyone to speed as far as what we're doing across all the teams right now. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So recently just updated right now. Warhawks still sitting atop the Privateers, 59.5 over 28. Arkansas Hogs are on the board, 52 3/4. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see a change up from this morning. They finally got lines wet just a little bit ago. So it looks like they're already pushing through, doing pretty well for themselves, making progress. So a lot of good numbers that we see. 18.5. Hey, I'll take those all day long. So good on you, Hogs. And I think we made a call on that before, saying they're going to be a tough team to try to beat. Louisiana Hurricanes up against the Lone Star Bandits. Bandits sit in the top 178 over 114, but the Hurricanes definitely making up some ground that they had lost this morning. So like I said before, they're still not out of it, and they're there knocking on the back door saying, hey, don't go away yet. Don't get too far out there. Florida Copperhead sitting at 164.75. Carolina Casters coasting in at a 78.25. John Fox, top of the leaderboards, 110 inches. Followed by John Mooney in the number 2 spot, 81 inches. God dang, that's how tall I am. That's how many fish. That's still a lot of fish. Derek Miller, 74 3/4. So that kind of gives you a quick summarization of where we're sitting right now for everything. Now, that brings us, get my screens here. That brings us to all those anglers out there. If you have something you want to go ahead and jump on and stream, please do so. I want to talk about fishing where you're at. I want to talk about the conditions. I want to find out what it is that's helping you to succeed today. What are the tricks in your bag that can help us understand you as an angler and also the conditions that you're facing? Because I know, me personally, when I'm on the water, I get going in my head sometimes. I get tunnel vision, but if I stop and think through it, it can help me and help me be a better angler, just to kind of reflect on those things that I know I could have done a little bit differently and also improve upon. And so it's just like what Greg was saying too. And I'm going to hit up Mike Hogan. In fact, I'm going to hit him up right now because you know what? Mike is, he's a pretty knowledgeable guy as well. And I'll tell you, I know where he's at. He's out there by Greg as well. Looks like we get Greg coming back on. All right, we got you back.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that, guys.
No, that's all right. I'm trying to get yeah, I get it. Hey, Mike Hogan, I know he's out there. I'm trying to get him on the into the broadcast.
Yeah,
and also
message the owners group. Tell them to come on.
Yeah, that's what I was. I just hit him up real quick. I was trying to. I was like, hey guys, help us out here. Talk to us. We want to know.
Get John Fox, all those guys, man. They're still fishing. But yeah, we'll get them all on.
I know, right? That's what we. That's what I want to do. I want to get more. The more, the merrier. Let's talk bassing.
Exactly. Looks like Florida and Texas are going to, doing pretty well.
Yes, I saw that. Hey, I was just reading off the scores here. So, and also, hey, the Hogs are on the board now.
Yes, they are, man. They're facing Southeast Texas. Is Southeast Texas on the board yet?
I didn't see anything. So let me go ahead and bring it back up real quick. So let me switch over real quick. Yeah, so right now it's just the Hogs. But you know what? Let me refresh to make sure. I had refreshed just literally a couple of minutes ago, but I think they're still, yeah. So 52 3/4 over the Rough Riders. So Rough Riders going to have to dig in and start to lasso in some fish there. You see what it did there? You like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Hurricanes over the Lone Star Bandits, 178 over 114.5 is the other one. Now we know the Copperheads are.
Wait. Say that again. What was the score of the Hurricanes?
So right now, Lone Star Bandits sit in the top 178 over the Louisiana Hurricanes at 114.5.
Oh, 114. Okay, so they actually came back.
Yeah. I was saying that. So they made up a little room.
They sure did.
Yeah, they were telling them, hey, don't think you can get away with this quite yet.
Yep.
And you know what? If anyone can do it, it's Louisiana. I was saying that before. Yeah, this is where national championships are going to be this year for KBF. And so they're not going to put it in a place where there's just a bunch of dinks. There's a whole bunch of big bass in Louisiana too, down south.
Oh, yeah. Those boys in Louisiana know how to fish.
Yeah, for sure. Florida putting the snake bite on the Carolina Casters, 164 3/4 over 78.25. So
yeah.
It seems like that's okay, though. That's okay. It seems like they are pulling out with a pretty big lead, but I never discount any team whatsoever because you know what? They could have bad cell reception. They could not have uploaded.
Exactly. And all it takes is just a flurry, man. You know how much fast you can catch in.
Oh, my God. What, an hour and you could be up there and you could be beating them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, which is to say the same when it comes to the Warhawks, right? So, how do I get a nice jacket like that? That's a pretty nice top there. I like that. Huh?
Well, we can get you one.
I'll just go ahead and put that little drop in there while I can.
Yeah, we'll get you.
It's going to match the gray beard.
We'll get you a little merch.
No kidding, right? KBF, or excuse me, Bonafide included. Bonafide included. I already got. We'll be good to go. Add a Bonafide to the fleet.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome all our watchers on the Pride Outdoor Network. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're out here fishing KFL Week 6, and we've got several matchups. We've got 5 matchups going on today. The matchups, we got 4 this morning, and we got 1 evening game from 12 to 7, and we're in the playoff push, man. Right now, we're here at Washington, D.C., taking on Norfolk Privateers, our in-state rivals. And we're sitting here trying to win this matchup. We're at 0-4, so our pride's hurt a little bit. You know what I mean? So we want to slam the door and really put Norfolk Privateers on edge and kind of ruin their playoff hopes, so to speak. So we'll see, man. We'll see how this works out. Right now, man, I just wish the bite was better on both teams. I'll be honest with you. I hate these grinders, man. We get asked all the time, Jim, what do you think, man? Would you rather have a shootout? Would you rather have a grinder?
Honestly, I'd rather have a shootout because those grinders, they really do kind of wear you down over time mentally. You get exhausted. And of course, there's not that high op tempo that you need. But at the same time, grinding it out does leave room for anticipation. And so when you know that this kind of thing is going to push to the end, I personally think if there's going to be any kind of room on the board, or if there's going to be any kind of makeup that can be made as far as improvement on the ground, the distance between them when they're closing that gap, if they're really pushing, it shows a lot of good integrity in the team, a lot of good skill sets that they have. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of actually in a toss-up now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this question asked to a lot of pros, man, and a lot of pros rather have the grinder in a tournament, man. They'd rather grind it out, I mean, that's great and all, but I mean, I don't know. I like a shootout, man. I like when everybody's catching fish, having a good time, and
I do too. What I
don't like though is like the St. Lawrence River or the Lake Champlain, to where these guys are catching, smallmouths to the fact that if you catch they're all the same size smallmouths, right? 4 or 5 pounders, and you happen to luck into like a 4.5 pounder, and basically, right. Or inches wise, everybody's catching 19 inches, and you happen to catch a 19.25 inch just out of a matter of luck. You know what I mean? I don't like those. You know what I mean? But
no, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean, because that's kind of cookie cutter,
But when you grind it out, you can see the guys who really have that skill set they can put to the test. It yes. shows them start to really shine. They push to the front, they take lead, and it's like, okay, hey, they did it last time. They can do it again. They did it this time. It definitely gives them the advantage over the rest sometimes. So
100%.
Yeah. Stephen Bell saying you couldn't get on. Sorry. Hey, that's not a problem. If there's anything we can do to try to facilitate you actually coming on the broadcast, let us know in the comments, and we'll either push a link back out to you, or see if we can try to fix it on our end. I don't know if there's anything at this point. Hey, that's right. Stay safe. Protect yourself from the sun.
Yeah, man. It's starting to be down.
Yeah, that sun gets to baking you. I'm going to tell you, I've come back, and my wife, she's like, take off your glasses. I want to see what you look like right away. Oh, Jeremy Baker coming in. Jeremy, and welcome back.
Thanks. What's up, man?
Hey, buddy. How's it going? You still grinding, or is that Finesse helping you out?
Finesse is helping me out, but I took a big move.
Jump locations?
Yeah.
So what forced you to jump?
It says my phone's too hot.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we don't want that. That sun, man, I tell you.
Yeah, it's getting pretty bad.
It's okay. I mean, if you got to put your phone in the pocket for a little bit and still talk to us, that's fine. I don't mind just hearing the conversation you can bring here. So what forced you to jump? I'm sorry.
Teammate called and made a move to decide to try to help.
Gosh. You got the intel. You got the intel on where they were, huh?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm all about that. That's teamwork. It makes the dream work.
It's supposed to anyway.
I think Greg got frozen on us for a little bit. Greg, if you can hear us. Yeah, I think he's going to drop out and come back in here in just a second. So,
yeah.
So, hey, where are you sitting on the leaderboard right now?
We're still in second.
Let's see here.
Behind the Bandits.
No, I see. You got. Yes, sir. You got 114.5. We were just talking about you guys making up some room. You're not out of reach yet. You're not out of reach. You're never out of it. Keep pushing, right?
Right. Never quit.
So that begs the question. Would you rather see a grind out or a shootout? Because Greg just asked me this question, and I got to say, I'm kind of split. I want to see everyone catch fish because it keeps it exciting, keeps the up tempo going. You're seeing a lot of good things happening. A lot of people are shining. However, when you grind, you start to see sometimes that normal or natural leader of the pack will start to really shine through often. And that's what's really going to separate a lot of the pack or some of those prominent anglers from the rest.
Right. Yeah, I think if I'm watching, I want to see the shootout because I want to see all the fish everybody catches.
Yeah. I know,
but
right?
If I'm, I want to catch all the fish, but if it's a grind for me, I hope it's a grind for everybody, and it's not just me being an idiot and I can't catch any fish. You know what I mean?
It's the great equalizer, as I always say. Hey, passing is a humbling sport. I can't even tell you how many times I come back and my head was hung low because I was like, golly, I was hot just last week. What is going on? But,
yeah, it can get frustrating, but I think that's kind of the love of the sport is it makes you slow down. It makes you think about what's going on around you. If they're eating bait fish, if they're moving, if they're holding the cover, if they're in the shade, if they're in the sun. I mean,
right.
All these things run through your head at one time, and you have to pick and choose which ones you want to use to try to help you catch fish.
Now, does that mean that you get tunnel vision? Because I do, very much so.
I have known to do that, yes.
Yeah, it's very easy to happen, isn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, thank God. We got Mike Hogan. I say thank God because I'll tell you, hey, Mike is a good friend too. It's great to have guys like you and him on here talking, giving us feedback about what the intel is on ground without actually giving up all the secrets, the trade secrets. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring out Mike Hogan. Mike, tell us, buddy, what's the secret?
Jim.
What's the success?
The success is, I guess, having confidence in yourself because no one's catching fish today.
I mean, that some of that may be applicable and some of it may hold true for some anglers, unfortunately. Not to say that they are not capable of catching fish or catching big ones, but it's a tough grind out for the day. We know that he's keeping those fish pushed down. It's very, very difficult. But what about you?
I'm just chugging away at it. I mean, I'm trying everything, and I mean, usually I've got a couple go-tos, and not even those are working. So this
are you sure? Because I would have.
I caught one dink, and that made me happy. It gave me a little confidence. But I mean, the pressure at the spot that I'm at right now. I mean, there's so many boats out here and so many people. It's just, these fish are just conditioned to it almost. So.
Do you feel like, because Mike, I know you and I are a lot alike when it comes to being swim bait enthusiasts. Do you feel like maybe switching to your game up to something completely different to show those fish that are so pressured, something new, it may work?
Yeah, I mean, I've been dabbling it here and there. I mean, I'm getting some structure with, some worm style baits, and then after it, I'll take a large paddle tail swim bait and throw that, and see if anything comes out from there. Yeah, just and
oh yeah.
Oh, let's go solo. Anybody? Hang on. Solo layout coming from Jeremy. I hear the splash in the background. That can mean one thing.
Yeah, buddy.
There we go. Oh, I brought you in and I brought you out of solo. Hey, what's up, Jordan? Let me put him back on solo for 1 second, buddy. I wanted to bring you into the conversation. Jeremy, real quick, hold that big, beautiful bass up.
I don't know if you can see me or not.
I got you. I got the sun in the background, but that's okay. You focus on you and don't let us. Okay, no problem. I think we lost him for a second. Jordan
Yes.
Coffee. Am I saying that last name correctly?
Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you, sir. How you doing?
Good. How about y'all?
Doing wonderful. Trying to get a lot of the anglers that are catching fish up on the screen here. Are you going to be the next?
Yeah.
Well, let's see it. So, how's the bite holding up for you today?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's been slow. We had a cold front roll through last night, and with that cold front rolling through, it's got us pretty messed up.
Oh crap! Hang on a second. Going solo real quick for Jeremy. He's back on, and we're going to hit your cold front.
It adjusted the camera.
Yeah, Jeremy, that's a beautiful fish. Beautiful fish.
I think it'll help out a little bit.
I think it's going to help out a lot, and I think that only tightens the gap that you had or that they had on you. Now, if you can start to keep catching those fish, you can slowly but surely catch up to them and possibly take over. Huh?
Yeah, hopefully. Let me.
Give them what for, right?
Yeah, let me go ahead and get off here and get this submitted.
Hey, not a problem. We'll be here waiting. Jordan, you said
All
you're
right.
talking about the cold snap coming through, dropping the temperature.
Bite up completely.
I'm sorry, buddy. You were broken up just a little bit. One more time. What were you saying, Jordan?
I've messed around. I've messed around. I've got 3 so far.
Okay.
Only 2 were scoreable.
Okay.
We had some other guys roll to a different part of the lake earlier in the morning, and they didn't really do no good. And they come over where we was at, and we're starting to finally piece something together. Ain't quite got a pattern on.
It seems like a lot of the teams now may be starting to pick up because it's getting later in the day, which is a little antagonistic to what we're considering for successful fishing with the heat. I think we got background noise. I don't mean to cut anyone off if you're talking, but you know, do you think that the later bite is going to be on for most of the teams now?
Yeah, honestly, I do. I think it's going to be more of an evening bite than a morning bite here.
Yeah.
It does seem like the later in the day it gets, the better it's been getting. I mean, right now I'm on a bite where I'm just hitting isolated trees. Anything in the middle of the water it's single. That's where I'm getting my bites really.
Gotcha. So it's all about
my biggest one this morning. I casted randomly in a open water, and that dude hit a chatterbait, and I was just.
And they slammed in on and honed in on the chatterbaits you had, huh? Making waves and disrupting the water seems to be what the theme of the day is today. A couple on finesse fishing. So let's go ahead and bring in Stephen Bell.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, sir. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
You too.
Thank you. I appreciate you joining us.
Yep. I'm in to open my phone. I left my camera mounted high.
Oh, you did? Hey, you know, that can be a tough one when you do that, trying to get the right placement there. We were just talking to Jordan Coffey about the bite, and he said he had a little bit of a cold spell come through in the previous day. And we were talking about what the bite's going to pick up. So some of the anglers are starting to put numbers on the board as we move into the afternoon. What do you think?
Well, it's picking up here. I've caught 2 in the last few minutes. It's starting to get cloudy. It's not too bad for Florida. It's kind of muddy.
Yeah, hey, I got to say, you know, if that overcast comes in the midday, that definitely could be something that's going to help you out, so you don't have direct sunlight beating down bacon and just boiling that water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep having a problem with these daggone alligators.
Wait, so they're right there next to you, huh?
Yeah. I remember I had one hit the bottom of the kayak.
Did you bring your alligator cross with you to keep them off or ward off the evil from them?
No. I just turn that Minn Kota wide open and run from them.
I was gonna say, yeah, you know, it's not like warding off a vampire or Dracula or anything. You know, you got to have your alligator repellent, which is cranking up the old Minn Kota or the trolling motor. I can't say I've ever fish with alligators around me. That would be a whole new experience, huh?
Yeah, it is. I fished with them at Eufaula. They were a lot worse than Eufaula, though.
Have you ever had one take your fish off the line?
No, I have not. I had one
Oh.
chase my fish earlier.
Oh, well, knock on wood, let me help you out here. I'll knock on wood for you. We don't want them to, we don't want you to lose any biggins to them. So
this alligator's coming to me. I got to go.
Really? No sooner do we say, let me go solo with you real quick.
Yeah.
Let me go solo real quick. Let me see what you're up against.
He started coming at there.
So that means they're hungry too, huh? Of course, I think alligators are always hungry.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. Dang, I was in a good spot too. See him right there.
I think I could see somewhat of an outline around the edge of the cover there, those pads.
Yeah, he just went under the water. He was coming pretty quick.
It's got to be pretty tough. I've never had to fish in those conditions. Never. So for you for today, for the numbers that you put on the board, what can you tell us about that? You said you had 2 in the last few minutes, right?
Yeah.
Buzz on my microphone here. So compared to the morning, if that overcast is going to keep, it seems like you've got a lot of it. All right. So I don't think you have to worry too much about direct sunlight. With that being said, what does that mean for you? You're gonna change your game up with the coloration that you have?
No, it seems that it's progressing, doing that working, and so 20 and a quarter, 15 and a 14 and a half, and 16 and a half. And so I'm just gonna stick with what I'm doing.
Yeah, don't change it if it ain't broken. Why fix it if it ain't broken?
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I saw they're beautiful looking fish. They look like they're starving.
Yeah, they're long and skinny.
You get in some parts of the nation where you're catching bass, and I think like out on the Potomac, as I was looking at some of the fish, they actually really were skinny. They were was it Potomac or was it Florida that I did see? No, it was Florida. It was Florida that I saw that. So it makes you wonder, what is the feeding cycle right now for them? What are they chasing? What are they pushing against? What are they feeding on? And how can that help you? Knowing their prey is what helps you to be a better angler, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean you're going to change up? Say again.
They seem to be hitting small bait fish here. I see them popping a lot, but I haven't caught well. I caught one, and the rest of them I caught on a frog, just throwing it around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I caught one on the fluke, on a frog.
Yeah, I've had a lot of luck whenever I've seen them push and pin those bait fish up against the surface by casting literally right where I saw the water break. I would say probably 4 out of 6 times that I've done that. I've had success, but at the same time, it also depends on what the conditions are, what the climate are, as we all know. So as we have your alligators push in and start getting on those fish, make sure you don't hook anything too big so you don't have to worry about getting bit or anything, huh? That's crazy to me.
Yep.
So Jordan, what are your thoughts about? Hey, say again. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stephen. What'd you say?
I'm gonna get off here so I can fish more.
Yeah, don't let us disrupt your fishing. Hey, good luck out there and stay safe. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Jordan, I think we had a bad reception with you before.
Yes, sir. We
Just
did.
one.
Okay, so yeah, so real quick, Jordan, I see you're pushing around there. Are you changing locations?
On what? No, I'm on the other team. Yeah.
So I think Jordan, you got locked up. Jeremy.
It's probably because I'm yelling too loud on the phone.
No, that's what, no. I'm saying Jordan. I think Jordan got locked up. His
now you're good.
Okay.
Oh, there's another one right here. Watch this.
You got another fish on?
No, I thought I saw one roll up.
Okay. Yeah. So bring everyone up to speed on on what we have for the leaderboard real quick. Let me go ahead and take it over so we can go ahead and update. Take everyone. Give me 1 second. Okay.
That was a big gar. Holy cow.
Yeah. So I had to give an important message to the boss, let her know. All right. So leaderboards overview real quick. Let me go ahead and take you guys to this. I'm curious to see where the numbers pop up, if anything's been updated since then. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Okay, Warhawks still sitting top over the Privateers, 59.5 over the 28. Arkansas Hogs, 70.5. Hey, good on you guys. We knew you guys were going to be a tough team, and you definitely are proving it. So, look at that. No sooner do I say that, the Southeast Texas Rough Riders putting some score up on the board, 18.5. So right now, Hogs, 70.5, Rough Riders, 18.5. Lone Star Bandits sitting at 178 over the Hurricanes, 149.5. Florida Copperheads, 166.25 to the Carolina Castors, 95. What happened there? I did not see that coming. They literally, either they just had some reception that they came into, or they just got on the bite. Wow, 166.25, they're 95. That's pretty outstanding. So you know what? This is actually turned out to be a really good. It's going to be a good grind. So I guess that answers the question that Greg was asking me for. Would you rather see a shootout or a grind out? Well, hey, the grind out makes for an exciting finish. You know, when you come to the crescendo and you see those bites start to turn on for everybody. Let me come back over to the stream real quick, guys. You know, add you to the stream, Jordan. When you see that grind out happen and you see the bites start to turn back on, now all of a sudden you have a really, really good show to put on or to watch what's going on in the background. You see all these teams start to put fish up on the board what they didn't have before, where they were sitting down before, and now they're making up room, closing the gap. Jeremy, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen with you guys? Because that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, if I can keep this going, it'll definitely be a lot closer. I know that. I know those guys on that team are real good, but the guys we have on our team are real good too. So,
No, absolutely.
It should be a pretty good battle here, picking up here. And the way that it's looking, I think we might have figured something out. So
that's good. So are you going to predict anything for your final number? Because I love to bet. Oh, come on. Let's put something up there. Let's put a number up there we can aim for. We won't call it a prediction. We'll call it a goal. How about that? Semantics.
I'd like us to hit 190.
190. Okay. I'll tell you what. So because you know I'm a huge advocate when it comes to 22 a day. If you've watched the broadcast before, 22 a day is basically those 22 veterans who commit suicide every day. We want to bring awareness to help prevent and mitigate anything like this, because that's 22 too many. Thank you so much for your service. No kidding. May I ask what branch?
I was in the Air Force. I was a vehicle operator.
Oh, outstanding. No, I work with a lot of Air Force, even still to this day. Some of my best friends for life, not only just in the Army, because I was Army, but our Air Force. Thank you so much for your service, Jeremy.
Yeah, you as well.
No, please. It was my honor. So, you know what, to commemorate that, your goal, if you hit 190 or you come within 22 inches of 190, I will knock out the 22 push-ups and make sure that we bring awareness. How about that?
Yes, sir.
You're going to help match? You're going to help
Yes,
match the 22? Okay.
But I'll do it when I get home.
I've done it on a kayak. I've done it on a bona fide.
Yeah, I'm not going to try that.
No, stay safe. Hey, don't let don't try to tip your kayak over. It's not as easy as it looks. So,
hey, you mind if I give a shout out to my wife and kids?
By all means, please do. Let me go solo with you real quick, okay? Go ahead, buddy.
Just say what's up, guys. I'll see y'all when I get home. Love y'all.
And a special thank you to one of our local heroes. And I'll tell you, Jeremy, there's nothing better. It actually gave me goosebumps, because I love to honor all of our anglers out there, and especially our veterans who are anglers, because you know what, it does come back down to one thing, and that is camaraderie and having that solidarity between us as teams, not just individually, as individual teams, but also overall, you know, is promoting back and giving back to what we can, how we can. God bless you for that, sir.
Yes, sir.
You still get me goosebumps. I'm a very family-oriented man. Jordan, I hope we can bring into the conversation on this, sir. Can you hear us? Because I think you were froze up before.
Looks like you might still be froze up.
Yeah, I think
Nope,
it's just the reception he had, so that's no problem. That's no problem. So Louisiana, it definitely holds a special place in my heart when it comes to my childhood because my mother's side of the family is from that area. I think we got Jordan coming back in. Yeah, here we go. Let's see if we can add him in real quick. But down in Bossier City, Shreveport. So are you familiar with that territory?
Do what?
Bossier City, Shreveport. Oh, we got Jordan
So
on two
it's
screens.
45 minutes to an hour from where I live in Texas.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said Shreveport is about 45 minutes from where I live in Texas.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're not too far away at all.
No.
Yeah. I know that area pretty well from my youth, my childhood. That's where I was saying before, for national championships for KBF, they're going to be down that way as well. So all of our anglers
from the house.
Say again, over.
Yeah, 45 minutes from my house is Lake Caddo.
Yeah. See, lucky you. And that goes back to say, if you know that event's going to be held down there, that there's going to be a good test for you guys today because you could definitely put up some monster bass. And it sounds like you're moving into them from what I hear and from what I see also on the scoreboard. I hope we can get Jordan in on the conversation here because I know he was having a little bit of connectivity issues. Hey, Jordan, if you can hear me, buddy, I hope you're doing well out there, and I hope you keep with all the cash you're making. I hope you're able to land some others and keep the event going. So as the day pushes on, all over with all of our teams right now, and the bite starts to heat up and starts to warm up. What's the one thing that's going to stay priority for you as far as your approach to all this? Are you going to hit the shaded cover?
Yeah, stay hydrated.
Hey, that's absolutely right. 100% stay hydrated. It is about staying safe and making sure that we do everything with a little bit of caution, but also bringing back those big bass in the end, right, to be able to add up in the score. And
yeah, I think we kind of figured them out. Big Mooney gave me a hint, so I think we've figured out what's going on.
So you are literally less than 30 inches away from catching the catching up right now with the other team.
Yeah.
That's definitely doable. Definitely very easy.
Yeah, but those guys, you can't sleep on them, so
no,
they're liable to throw up a couple 20s out of nowhere. So
now, because you're out there and you're going to a finesse technique, I think is what you're still on, right?
Yeah.
So is this something that you think you're going to add to your bag of tricks as a permanent solution for the days ahead if you guys advance to week 7?
I don't think I have a choice but to now.
Yeah. Hey, what's the expression? Mother is the invention, or necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
So for me, that's exactly what happened. That's how I got turned on to finesse fishing. I never even thought I would like finesse fishing. And then when I started throwing certain lures, certain soft jerk baits and things like that, I had tremendous success. And that's really what turned me onto it. So on the other side of the spectrum, if you're power fishing and you're throwing the crankbaits or you're throwing the chatterbaits and you're moving around a lot and you got heavy line, it can definitely make all the difference because when you do get on them, it's going to be okay. Hey, just jack them in the jaw, get them in the boat, get them in the yak, measure them up on the board and release them. But that finesse fishing, you have to take your time and it takes a lot of discipline to slow down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is definitely not my forte, is slowing down.
So I'm going to go ahead and send an invite real quick to, I think we got some guys. I'm going to put it right in here. So. Yeah, so Bradley Kennan living in Bossier. So if you know where Waller Street's at, that's just from childhood. But if you know where Waller Street's at, that's definitely my old stomping grounds from my youth. So John Fox, I got you. I'm gonna hit you up also on Messenger, so that way we can get you some information as soon as possible here. That way you can log on and we can take care of you. Bear with me, Jeremy, while I get this taken care of. Keep catching fish.
Yes, sir.
1 second here.
I'll work on that.
Okay, we should be good. All right, John, I just sent you something again on Messenger, included it. We got Jordan back in, bring him into the stream. Jordan, can you hear me, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, that's what I want to hear. Connectivity. So now that we have interoperability between us, what is the game plan? What are you on? Have you caught anything?
Man, game plan is just keep grinding, really. I mean, I haven't really come up with that.
Well, one more time, Jordan, a little bit louder, buddy. And I'm not trying to interrupt your fishing. I just could barely hear you.
I ain't really come up with anything really yet. Man, there's no pattern for them today. There really ain't. We got one guy that may be possibly getting on a pattern, but it's hit or miss. It really has been all morning. That boat front has them so jacked up, come up with nothing. I mean, I've caught one. All my fish have come off 3 different ones.
No kidding. No kidding. So power fishing is going to be, hang on, let me adjust my chair. I'm fishing my carpet here. But power fishing seems to be what you're doing right now, right? You had changed locations. I saw you push into a different location before. You said the cold snap had affected. You had a couple earlier. Do you think is finesse fishing within your arsenal? Is that something that you've considered going to? Have you thought about changing up the game, or do you think pushing through like you have now is going to be the way to be able to catch up and stay on the leaderboard on the very top? I think he froze up on us again. That's too bad. I see every now and then I see little minuscule movements back and forth. John, I want to make sure I keep the tempo going, buddy. First of all, you're having a great day. Talk to us.
Just punching. Just every now and then I get a bite. Just looking for the big one.
Yeah, no, I know, right? What else can you do? What else can you do? Sitting at, John, you're sitting atop the leaderboard right now as far as individual lengths. You're sitting at 126 3/4. Golly. So you can't deny your talent. You can't deny your skill. Is there anything that you would pass on to the other anglers right now if you had to? I had to put you on the spot for 1 second because I got to tell you, that's a great number to put up. Holy cow, punching. And you're by yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that the lack of pressure from the any kind of other anglers on the side right there, you think that's definitely giving you a little bit of advantage?
I've had some good teachers coming down here. Doug Wilson is the one that showed me how to punch.
Wow.
I learned from Danny how to throw a frog,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was a co-angler up north, so I rode in the back of everybody's boat, so I just sat back and learned.
That's the best way to do it, isn't it? A quiet success is the best redeemer.
Yeah. I got lucky in 2019 and won the national championship on the co-angler side.
Wow. Congratulations on that. I didn't know that. I'm learning more and more about you.
Yeah. That living the dream package thing they got.
So did you miss him? Okay. So it sounds like, John,
yeah.
It sounds like you're definitely a name that I have to make sure I obviously I won't forget it, but a name I'm going to have to watch out for here in the next tournaments. If I'm able to get back in on these or to get in on these tournaments this next season, huh? Hey, Jordan.
Hey, man, you was asking about my strategy.
Hey, let's put you on solo. Hang on 1 second now. 1 second. Let's go solo with you. Congrats on the catch. That's a beautiful fish. I love the coloration. Love the coloration. It's not bland at all, huh?
As soon as it cut out, I hung into her.
Hey, it was meant to be.
Man,
nice.
I'm just gonna keep grinding on what I'm doing, really.
Yeah. So you got to keep pushing. I mean, why change it up if it's working, right?
Man, it's been hit or miss. I'm hitting having to cast at 300,000 trees, and I catch one here and there. But if I can keep catching fish like I'm catching right now, why change it up? You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I 100% I would do the same thing. Same thing. So, yeah. So kicking over to the kick it over to the leaderboards, then you know what that means, right? See if we can update everything real quick. I think that puts you 50, 60 up. Because you're coming out of the Arkansas Hogs, right? Yeah. Hogs over the Rough Riders. Yeah, 86.5 over 18.5. Florida Copperheads kicking up on the board. Still 168.5 over the Carolina Casters. But, Carolina Casters, I know you're trying to snake bite them over here, John, but they're still nipping away. 111. So 168.5 over 111. So they're not too far out of range, but you still have a good, sizable lead. Washington Warhawks at 59.5. Norfolk Privateers still trailing with a 28-inch catch right now. And
Man, I'm gonna
John?
come here and submit this fish.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, don't let it stop you. Don't let it stop you. So, Jeremy, I'm waiting for another 22 incher, and I'm hoping that you're going to put on the board for us. Let's see what you got, buddy.
Nothing. Grass.
No, I'm saying put that skill out there on the water and let's see it. And you know what?
No.
It's static and connection. I wonder why. I really wanted to bring someone on, a non-angler on, when while we're doing this, so we could try to convince them. But for some reason, the connection is just so bad that they can't log on. I wanted you would be a great angler to be able to talk them through and say, hey, listen, this is why you need to get into bassing. This is why you need to do this. This is what's happened to me. This is how it's changed my life. And also being a fellow veteran, this individual that I want to bring on, as soon as we can get him connected, he definitely brings a lot to the table, and he would make a great angler. He's kind of dabbled in it a little bit, and I know he wants to start to do tournament fishing. And what better place than KFL?
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
I was saying, I'm trying to make it so that way, we can help awaken the sport of kayak bass fishing, especially with KFL, with some people who have never been exposed to it. And so I wanted to try to do something a little bit different today by bringing some guests on who are non-anglers, have them interact with us. So that way we can go ahead and change their mind and set the hook, as I call it, and bring them into the sport of kayak bass fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we started a local tournament trail just with that in mind, to get people involved who weren't previously involved. Ooh, that's a big fish. Who weren't previously involved. I spooked a big one.
Oh, you saw the wake.
Yeah.
Isn't that the worst? I hate that so much. But you were saying, go ahead, please. You were saying, continue.
But we started a trail. The board was originally all veterans. One of our guys moved to the Virgin Islands, so he's no longer with us. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
He's still alive, but he's just in paradise hanging out with no shoes on. So
you got to admire him for doing it too.
But yeah, so we started the trail to try to get to those people who were either intimidated by all the gadgets and gizmos and all the high dollar stuff that you see. And we tried to push just people coming out to have fun and go out and have fishing trips with no contest, just to meet people, meet and greet type stuff. And it wound up working out pretty good. We had some pretty good turnouts this year. Met a lot of new people that we've never seen before.
Doesn't that get you excited to be in the sport of bass fishing? So especially when you see new faces, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing I always wonder about, who's going to be the rookie of the year? Who's going to be the angler of the year that's now coming in, who had never been exposed to before, and now they get a taste of it. And you start to see these populations that are tinged with that super talent that's just waiting to be unlocked. That's what I love. I love to see that kind of thing happen when people who have never been in that, maybe they caught a bass when they were younger, and now they get on the water, and it's a whole new passion that just it awakens in them. So my buddy, the one I want to bring on as a guest, his name is Anthony Maurer, and he only lives right down the street. I'm trying to get him to log on. I'm having a little bit of problems with it, but he's been bass fishing before. He's caught some nice bass, but he's never been kayak bass fishing. And I really want him to get into this. So that way, not only does it awaken that love and that passion that I know is probably sitting there with him, but also just to help give back to the sport. And it's also about conservation. And I know I keep hitting on that, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but these are things that I just love and that I'm passionate about. Is that where you're going? Is also when it comes to the groups that you were discussing before? Is that the whole intention of that?
Ultimately, we want to bring new people out, and we want to, preserve as much as we can of what we love to do. I mean, you see a lot of stuff like, people get a little upset when they spray for grass on lakes and stuff like that because it kind of hurts the fishing. And it takes a couple of years for them to come back after they spray all the grass out, or at least down here. I don't know if it is for you guys, but
Greg talked about that before. And we were hitting on you hit the nail on the head. We were talking about how if you're trying to conserve the bass population and you want to see these monsters stay through, the conversation started with right now, Northern Virginia, right? We've established what's called the F1 program, and it's merging the northern largemouth bass with the Florida strain bass, which is a different species. And so when we mix those two together, we get a bass that can endure those harsh environments of the Virginia winters, but also has a really good growth rate. And it was started a couple of years ago. So we're not going to see any big double-digit bass anytime soon, because you figure 1 to 2 pounds a year max. Bass live on average 7 to 8 years. I know northern bass, largemouth bass, they have a little bit longer life expectancy of up to 10, maybe 12. It's even been recorded as 15 years. But down in Florida, they don't live that long. They don't live 12, 13 years. I think they live a max 8, 10 years, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And so you see, when you start to see these big bass down there, you get super excited. People always want to go to Florida to catch that Florida strain. They want to go to Texas and catch those big bass, just like you see what's happening today. Those monster numbers that can be put up there, it's just a matter of how do we selectively harvest and what should we selectively harvest to keep those bigger bass populations more plentiful and more bountiful. Ultimately, I think that's what it comes down to. So if this week happens and you guys are able to pull out a win, what does that mean for you next week? Who would you be facing off, do you think?
Next week will be the Southeast Texas team on Toledo Bend.
So we've got right now, you guys are sitting 149.5, like I said before, against the 178. I don't see that much of a change on the board. That's okay, though. That's all right. That means that they're not pulling away and still within shot.
Yeah, it'll probably change closer to time. They're probably catching fish and just waiting to submit.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about before too. A lot of guys are still going to have a lot of their fish in the photographs are still going to be in their phones waiting to upload. So it just depends where you're at.
Yeah,
if you've got, go ahead.
I can't wait like that. I forget.
Yeah.
I wind up forgetting.
I don't like to take that chance. I'll take the time I need to on the water as much as I can. I'm not going to sit there and just watch, minutes go by, but I'm going to keep hitting refresh while I'm trying to cast at the same time. Absolutely. 100% my way to do things. So, sir, are you going to hold up a 22-inch bass now?
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it? You got any alligators where you're at?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking with Stephen Bells before, and he was actually reeling in, and he had an alligator chasing his bait it was his bait, or was his bait or his fish? It was a bait, I think, as he was reeling it in. So I said, I've never had to deal with that. I don't know how I would.
I talked to him this morning a little bit. Kind of gave him a heads up about the gator. Sometimes they can be a little territorial down here.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't even imagine trying to deal with that kind of thing. You know what, guys? I think I might have the ability to bring our lead fisheries biologist on the broadcast. Give me 1 second while we're talking here. Let me see if I can do this. God, I hope he can come on, because it definitely comes down to conserve the conservation of our bass populations for our future generations, our kids, our grandkids. And don't let the gray hair fool you guys. All right. I'm not that old yet. I'm just saying. I hear, is that a bass I hear?
No, it's
I
me
hear
paddling.
a paddle. Okay. Hang on here.
I got stuck in some grass.
I'm sending a link right now to hopefully our next guest. We'll see what he does here. See if he can do this. It's hard to get them in on the stream because of the cell phone reception and the bad service we got because of the storms knocking everything out. So just real quick, let's talk about the teams here for a second. The Warhawks against the Privateers. Right now, the Warhawks, sitting on the Potomac, which is a tidal basin. What are they going to have to do to try to get ahead and stay ahead? It's a tough grind up here. It's hot weather. Right now, the sun is shining, but there's some overcast coming in with the rain on approach. What do you think that's going to mean, guys, if we're talking a different team? Because, ultimately, that means the matchup leading down the road. One of you are going to have to face up. What do you think about that, Jeremy?
I lost service a little bit. I couldn't hear you.
No problem. So, I wanted to talk some of these other teams right now. We've got some of the other groups, some of the other teams. So let's take the Washington Warhawks. Right now, they're sitting at the top of Privateers. They've got, decent numbers up. But here's the thing. In order to be able to keep pushing, what do you think they're going to have to do? They got this hot weather. They're on a tidal basin. Right now, they're at high tide. The grass is everywhere, right? And the problem is that we've got rain on approach because I live in this area as well. We've got rain on approach, hot weather. It's been really, really mediocre conditions. It's a tough push. What do you think the team's going to have to do versus the elements?
Probably get into the backside of that grass and slow it down.
Trying to make sure that they so staying stagnant and staying in one location and trying to find those key locations where they know they have to wait for the bass to swim by them and try to pounce on them from there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of tide type stuff. It just kind of depends on where we fish in Texas, but up here where we're at, we don't really run into tide. It's just whether the lakes are pulled down or they're flooded. I mean, and usually it's the floodgates are open and the water's dropping like a foot a day or so, depending on the lake.
Right.
So for me, that's kind of a different style of fishing than what I'm used to. That's something that I'm hoping to learn on next year, maybe travel in some national events, stuff like that. But I would think if the tide's up and the water level's up, you push up into probably the backside of what you would normally be fishing on the grass lines and stuff and trees.
Right. It's a tough push. Let me tell you. It's a whole different animal. And I wish Greg was on right now because he could speak and attest to it firsthand, or Mike Hogan as well. Having fished in this tidal basin. Yeah. Oh, okay, John. Great. Let's talk that. What do you think? And this is a question I can aim right at you. What do you think they're going to have to do? How can they turn it around if they can, given the elements that they're fighting against?
When I fished it, we went in the back when the tide came in. We went all the way to the back and was throwing chatterbaits around the grass.
Right.
And
that grass is.
Buddy of mine did really, really well throwing a stupid tube.
I've never heard it called that before. So you think
it's a weedless tube.
It's a weedless tube. So I obviously we're talking about just a different way of rigging it back up without the actual typical tube weighted heads.
It comes with I met the guy that makes the jig head. It's kind of like a regular tube jig head, except it's got a really round gap to it.
Cutting back on itself a little bit, closing the gap on it. That way, when it bites down, it punches through the membrane of the tube.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I've actually seen something like that on if I'm watching like Bass UTV, right? They'll have every now and then have those little nuggets of information that are pretty gold. So the team that's out there, the Warhawks that are on the Potomac right now, it's been brutal for them to try to sustain those conditions. I know, Jeremy, you're out there in the hot weather as well, like all the do I have a little bit of consistency with the signal where you're at now? You can hear me pretty well?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay. I got you now. So your strategy, you were talking about before, because we kept getting cut off because of the reception. I know it's bad service. Have you changed at all because of that cold weather this morning, as opposed to now as the day carries on and the bite's starting to pick up in a lot of areas?
I fished really slow this morning. I just stopped flipping this morning. That's really what I like to do. And man, I couldn't get on a flip bite, so I started really slow fishing. I even broke down a finesse fish, and I caught one on a finesse. For some reason, man, power fishing it's been the goal today.
Yeah, no kidding. And it definitely reflects on the board, let me tell you.
I caught one this morning.
Can I come up there? Power fish?
And we had another guy on our team. He caught one power fishing this morning, so I started back and I pulled that one out. And I guess that's what I'm going to do the rest of the day.
I mean, it's just like we said before. Why fix it if it's not broken? So
No
keep doing what you're doing and keep pushing on, and I think you're going to hold steady numbers up there. And in fact, let me go ahead and push up on the screen real quick. I'm going to add to the stream. That way you guys can see where we're at in the leaderboards. And for those who are watching without actually being streamed, they can see what it is, what's going on with the rest of the team. Yep, I got the full thing up. Good. So real quick, while I'm going to refresh it just to make sure, even though I just did it, things can turn. The tide can turn. So, all right. Yeah, Lone Star Bandits. This is the one match I've been watching with, eager anticipation to find out what's going to happen, that back and forth, that ebb and flow, if you will. You see what I did there? You guys see what I did there? Talking about the Potomac here. So you got the Hurricanes right now slightly trailing behind the Bandits, 178 over 149.5. Really not that much. So you have nothing. You really have nothing standing in the way except that stupid weather, which can really play against you, because if you get on the right spot, you're absolutely going to be able to catch up, right? You only got 28.5 inches to be able to catch up to them. Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll just catch a couple. We're going to be caught up.
Hey, that's what I want to hear. I love that winning attitude. You know what I'm saying? Air Force, aim high. Florida Copperhead's putting a bite on the casters for a little bit this morning, but now look, hey, it's that gap starting to close. I know if anyone can do it, Florida, John Fox, hey, leading the board with 141 inches, 141.25, might I add. That's crazy. John, I got to say, I love having you on the show, having on the broadcast this morning. It's been great getting to know you. I got to say, these are really impressive numbers. I'm thoroughly impressed. I got to say, Danny Gann trailing behind you, not too far, 100 and a quarter. Just behind them in the number 3 spot, Stephen Bell, John Mooney with 81 inches, and Derek Miller bringing up the top 5, number 5 slot, 74.75. So right now, the two that I'm really, I think everyone's watching because we don't have any visibility on the Motor City Ambassadors, say Appalachian Anglers, and that's going to be Lone Star Bandits against the Hurricanes, and of course the Copperheads over the Casters. I'm curious to find out what's going to happen, guys. Any calls? Any calls on what we think is going to happen here?
No,
Right.
honest with you, I really think the Bandits are going to take home.
Right. I don't think we can do that. So I got a guest who wants to, I don't think they can do that. I think they have to stream in. I wish as I learn a lot of the teams here and stuff, I'm also learning about the system and the capabilities, because I want to make sure I can add potential future anglers to bring the love of the sport to them. So guys, 1 second, bear with me while I try to get our guests on here. Just keep fishing away and keep catching them. Hopefully, I'm resending the link to him and to try to give him at least the opportunity to try to log on because I want to see if this is going to work or not. But yeah, in the meantime. And it looks like John is back on. Let's go ahead and go solo. John, I got to say that hook set looks pretty strong, buddy.
Well, I'm pulling them through 2 foot of
Golly.
well, that ain't a bad one. That ain't.
No, that's not a bad one at all. There's no shame in that whatsoever. Nice. Very nice. And so,
Right in the top of the lip, just like I like it.
Yeah, that's a clean hook set. That is exactly how I like it. Good on you. Good on you, John. You're just leaving everyone in the dust here with all these catches you got. You seriously are going to put up over 200? Do you think you're going to put up 200 inches on the board today?
Who, me?
Yeah. I mean, you're on your way. You know that, right?
I don't think I'll hit 200.
In total? You know what? Here's what I'm going to say. Let me go back over here real quick and let me look at the board. Right now,
okay.
You've got, with this one, you have the potential. How much time we got left in the day? So you have the potential if you're able to find the right spot to be able to push up in totality in the aggregate. Oh, hey. So I want to be able to bring on John Odenkirk. Welcome to the broadcast, John. How you doing, buddy?
There's some wild shit you got going on, man.
Yeah. So we got to keep it pretty family oriented. But hey, we welcome you to the broadcast. I appreciate everything that you do. No, that's okay. It's okay. I made the exact same mistake this first time I was on too. I was actually on the water when it happened, but I dropped a. It was a little bit more harsh language. So, hey, John, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And if you don't mind, we got other anglers on watching. I've been bragging you up all morning because of everything you do, but can you just give us a quick introduction of who you are, what you do, real quick?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, and I apologize for that outburst. I didn't realize this. I was overwhelmed with the technology. Kind of old school on that, so I'm not exactly sure what I was getting myself into there. But no, all good. Appreciate the opportunity. So I'm John Odenkirk. I'm a fisheries biologist, formerly with the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. We're now called DWR, Department of Wildlife Resources. I've been working in the Northern Virginia district for 30 years. Doesn't seem like that, but it has been that long.
Wow.
Work primarily on the tidal Rappahannock and Potomac rivers, Lake Anna, and some other small systems, in Northern Virginia. So I've got 12 counties, and I've been keeping up with the snakehead research since they showed up, and yada yada yada.
No, by all means. I mean, trust me, that's definitely impressive. And I know that, you and I have talked before when we've done broadcasts before, and we were specifically talking about pre-spawn at that time. Now we're well past all that. It's the hottest month of the year. Incredible temperatures out there. We're on the tail end of a storm that hit us last night, knocked out the service, knocked out all reception pretty much across the board. And just to have it heat back up this morning, and now another storm is coming in. To bring you up to speed real quick, John, some of the biggest things we want to do are talk about bass conservation and also some of the teams that we have out there. We've got the Washington Warhawks, which are from our neck of the woods, you and I both, and they're actually out on the Potomac right now. It's been a tough grind for them.
It's a tough grind right now for anybody with the heat we're having.
It is. Well, you would say that, but we've got a guy up on the board right now, John Fox. He just hit 141 inches total, right, for all his fish. And he's down there in Florida, but yeah, you're absolutely right. So, I clicked over. So right now, Warhawks are sitting with 59.5 over the Norfolk Privateers at 28 inches. So the Warhawks are on the Potomac right now. They're fishing side by side with NDKBA, which is actually the group that you and I did a broadcast for, on the Potomac out here in Occoquan, out by ORP. Any words of wisdom, any advice, anything that we can talk about with bass behavior?
Well, okay, so I think we mentioned earlier, this time of year especially, you you're going to want to be close to the drops, and later in the day, you know, you're going to want to be deep. And another thing that some people forget, you know, that they want to associate all that hydrilla and other submerged aquatic vegetation with bass habitat, and that is definitely the case in most times. But especially as these conditions we're in now, with the stagnant, the hotter the water gets, the lower the oxygen, and so fish are going to shy away from that for those reasons. And especially in those mats of SAV, the temperatures can get so high. So I would absolutely be fishing on the far outside, you know, of any aquatic vegetation, and then in the areas of drops and where there's some current, you know. So you combine those things, and hopefully you'll be on some fish.
No, absolutely. And, you know, that's something that Greg knows he was talking about this before. He had to stay in that one stagnant location, not able to move, waiting for the fish to come by him because it was such a tough grind. You know, right now we're at peak tide. The temperature is heating up all from last night and still all the way through the morning because of the sun. But look, for these guys out there right now, it is so difficult, just like you're saying, because of the water temperatures heating up. One thing we started to get on was the competition that's happening between snakehead and largemouth. A decline in the snakehead populations, because you're the leading expert, and might I add, leading expert worldwide. Let me bring Jeremy Baker back in. Leading expert worldwide. I've read your articles that you've published, all your works that you published. Some of the things that we've noticed is that bass are getting more aggressive now. Is that leading back to because of the competition for food coming from the snakehead populations?
No, I don't really think that's the case, especially now. The habitats are going to be partitioned because the snakes are still going to be real shallow, and they're paying a metabolic cost for that, but they're still going to be shallow because that's their behavior, that's their preferred habitat. So they're going to be in that 95-degree water in the mats of hydrilla in 6 or 8 inches, you know. And so in no self-respecting bass is going to be there. They're going to be in the positions we talked about just a minute ago. So yes, so certain times of the year, yes, they may be more aggressive because there is a little bit of that dietary overlap, but I don't see that happening now.
Sure. I mean, honestly, I would have directly attributed that to the competition when it comes to that. So you talk about oxygen levels, right? So obviously, there's lots of flora that's going on, lots of flora that's growing up, all the grass, all the hydrilla. What other types of grass do we have to worry about, especially in Virginia, that we're going to be contending with when it comes to trying to throw baits and adjusting our style and techniques of fishing?
Well, I mean, that's a great question, and it's a transitional thing, especially for the tidal Potomac. Always seems to be a bit of a salad, you know, when it comes to aquatic vegetation. And hydrilla, of course, is the dominant plant in most of the creeks and tributaries. But water milfoil, I think most bass anglers would agree that that's a preferred vegetation to fish, just because of its architecture. And they're used. The thing is, those vegetation complexes are always in a transitional state, and I guess the key might be to find areas of milfoil and Vallisneria or water celery, which was a native SAV, and maybe that, like I say, the mouth of by Leesylvania State Park, the mouth of Powell's Creek has a lot of Vallisneria. Down around Quantico Creek has a lot of val. So, you know, looking for the odd species of vegetation may be a pathway to perhaps finding some bass in this sort of conditions now. That makes sense.
Sure. So definitely trying to get a read out of the layout. A read of the layout of the land or the water and where we're at is definitely going to help at least try to push those numbers up for what we're catching as far as the hook ratio.
Yeah.
Too verbose. Hey, so we got Greg Noza on. Hey, Greg. So
yes, sir.
John Odenkirk.
It's John Odenkirk. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, the man. That's right.
He is the man.
He is. He definitely is. He's a book of knowledge, Jesus, and it's like
oh my gosh, yeah.
He is. Super great guy, stand-up guy. And here's the biggest thing I was telling him about what I brought him on for is because he can help talk to us about the local bass population, specifically where you're at, Greg. And while I got you on, you know, I don't know if you heard before what he was talking about. Anything you wanted to add as far as where you're fishing on the Potomac right now? I see the sign, by the way, behind you.
Well, I mean, I'm fishing deeper water, of course. You know, right now, this area is pretty choked out, and try to get across into the grass and try to fish these grass, even try to punch through it, it's daggone near impossible. So, the next best thing is kind of fish, around it, in deeper water, and hopefully they're coming up, and just gotta be patient. Are they coming up, to the edge? Are they coming up wherever? Eventually to feed. I truly think this is. I mean, John, I want to ask you. I mean, don't you think that in days like this is more of a nighttime feeding cycle for these bass?
Yeah, it could be, absolutely, but you got to remember that their metabolism is going to be elevated as well, so they almost have to eat. So they're going to be probably feeding more heavily than they would given other conditions being similar, just because of that metabolic output that they've got to survive.
Right. John, I was always going to ask you. You work heavily with the snakehead population, and and do great work here with bass and snakeheads and stuff. And I mean, my theory on this is I've been fishing the Potomac River all my life, and as we're starting to see a pretty significant decline in snakehead activity. Either whatever has happened, either the bow fishermen are killing them off, and fishermen are killing them off, and so on and so forth. But when snakehead population was at its peak, let's say 2-3 years ago, I mean, the bass fishing was absolutely out of control. It was so great, and my thought is that because they're competing for forage and they're competing these snakeheads against the same food, and they're just a lot more aggressive. And it seems like as the snakehead population is dying, bass fishing has gotten progressively worse. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, that's just a theory of mine, but it seems to be holding true.
Well, no, a lot of the things that you stated, I definitely agree with. Where I might differ slightly is that I think the two populations are functioning completely independently of one another. That generally the habitat conditions that favor good recruitment, that's good spawning and success of a year class, the conditions that favor good recruitment for one species are also good for the other. So it's based on environmental conditions. It's not based on intraspecific competition or intraspecific competition. But it's again, they're just functioning independently, and
Right.
I don't think there's any competition, because competition and the word itself implies that there's a limited availability of the forage. And I don't think, given the numbers that we're dealing with of snakes, especially at this point in time, even at their height, which you stated accurately about 3 or 4 years ago, they've been declining since. Even at the height of snakehead abundance, we're still not dealing with the numbers that were high enough in context with bass numbers to even remotely have competition, because the forage resource is so boundless. I mean, the Potomac River is a fish factory, and in a resource that wasn't as productive, perhaps we could have competition. So what we do is we prefer to call that dietary overlap rather than competition. So
Gotcha.
at certain times of the year, absolutely, there's dietary overlap, but is it significant, and does it mean anything in terms of the relative health of either population? And I say no, it's meaningless to me.
Gotcha.
I know that's mind blowing, because I know there's so many anglers that probably think the same way I do and Greg did, where there's that competition there. But it's always good to have the expert set us straight, first of all, and also be able to discuss what's going on with the snakehead population in relation to the bass population as well. Because if you, just like you said, the bass outnumber the snakehead, are we talking 3 to 1, 5 to 1? Is it that significant?
Yeah, Jim, I got to be honest. I didn't really get that. You were kind of garbled in that last bit there, so I'm not exactly sure what you're asking.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. So yeah, we've had some pretty bad reception all day. So the bass population over the snakehead population, is it 3 to 1, 5 to 1? Are they outnumbered in that much?
Okay, so that depends a lot on the creek. We are typically spending most of our time in 4 creeks. That's where we've got our best data sets on. The 3 creeks around Mount Vernon, Little Honey, Dove, and Pohick, and then down in Stafford County, Quia. We do other creeks as well. We've got data on Occoquan and Powell's and the Absco. But the 4 I mentioned at first, those we have very regimented almost 20-year data sets for both species. And so I think that we can draw some pretty strong inferences from those data sets. And what we're looking at typically are average bass catch rates, and this is relative abundance. That's our kind of arbitrary measure of abundance. And we've related that with a true population estimate too. So that gives us confidence that when we say or relative abundance is truly reflective of real abundance. In other words, a population estimate. So we're talking, usually our bass relative numbers are in the neighborhood of 80 to 110 per hour. That's a high catch rate for bass, but typically the Potomac is going to be, most of the creeks is going to be in that 80 to 90 fish per hour range. Snakeheads typically now are going to be in the single digits. They're going to be 6, 8, 10. Aquia Creek still in the mid-teens. So it's generally an order of magnitude almost. We're talking maybe 8 or 10 per hour versus 80 an hour. So that's it's
Wow.
pretty good.
It's tenfold. Wow.
Yeah, it's a significant number.
Right.
And so that's so substantial. So when I was reading the information that you had sent me the one time, I've seen now that decline, and just like Greg had talked about, and you pointed over, that decline in the snakehead population, but it's being attributed to not just a balance that's being found naturally, but also how much is actually coming back to people who are going out and doing bow fishing, the actual harvesting of all of these snakeheads.
Exactly. That's you hit the nail on the head. So my theory, and it's my theory, but the main two things at play are what you mentioned: exploitation. That comes in the form of archery. It comes in the form of commercial fishing. It comes in the form of you and me hook and line fishing and taking a fish home to eat. So all that's exploitation. That has a huge role in it. And there's no question in my mind that the fact that this has been touted as an excellent table fare, and they're in high demand. Last time I checked, the fillets were going for about $20 a pound. There's no question when you attach dollar tag to any item in the natural resource anywhere, you're going to have exploitation, and so that is helping drive to keep the numbers down. But I think at the same time, we are also seeing an assimilation or an adjustment of this novel ecosystem that snakehead finds itself in is learning that everything's sorting itself out. The birds have figured out, we can eat this thing. All the other little fish have figured out, we can eat the young snakeheads because they're tasty and they swim around in their bright orange color and they flail around the surface trying to learn how to air breathe. All these things, right? So nature catches up. So you've got that assimilation or that equilibrium status occurring at the same time that you've got this tremendous exploitation. And so I think what has happened is that has driven the decline in the population.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because there's such a fun sport fish. I absolutely loved going out and go snakehead fishing. I know Greg does too, because we've talked about that. And just on the other side too, we cooked up some snakehead from a catch, I want to say like 2 months ago, because they're incredibly tasty. But the problem
depends
is,
who you talk to. Some people are. Yeah, some people are very happy the numbers are going down, and some people are very upset. So
I'm upset for one, and I'm usually pretty neutral, but I got to say, I love the conservation when it comes to our fish that we have here, even if it is a fish that's not native to our areas. I definitely love having snakehead around. Greg, what do you think? Same thing with you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I'm wondering when Virginia is going to actually recognize snakeheads as a legitimate
official
sporting fish. Yeah.
Yeah. If you didn't drop it, I was going to say it.
Yeah. I mean, it's about time. I mean, there's a whole now, tourist economic impact for snakeheads now. There's many snakeheads tournaments are coming in. I mean, there's people all over the world want to come in to Stafford County at least and fish for these things. So I think it's time for Virginia to start opening it up and keeping record of trophy-sized snakeheads and recognize it as a sport fish.
Whenever there's a regulation cycle, which we're coming up on one now, make your feelings known. Send those comments in on our website by email or whatever, and just make your comments known, because that's the only thing that's going to change it. Is we work for you all. You guys are. We have two jobs: we have to service our constituents, and we have to conserve the resource. And once people start to figure out the resource isn't being damaged by these fish, then we have to answer to our constituents. If the constituents want the fish to be a game fish or whatever they do, that's going to take time. But at some point, it probably will happen. But it's going to be a while. It's because so we have to shift the whole institutional philosophy.
Yeah. I mean, John, would you agree that the catfish are more of an invasive, damaging species than snakehead?
I think one could easily argue that blue catfish are far more invasive than snakeheads. Yes, I could see where
Yeah.
that could be made.
Yeah,
Hey,
I agree.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you, gentlemen. I just wanted to real quick recap. John, you were talking about how we can make a difference by going to DWR website.
Right. So our regulation cycle is in 2 years. Every 2 years, we have public comment, and then if people want regulations changed or whatever, we consider those and make proposals, and so we're coming into one of those cycles now. I'm not exactly sure where we are in the timeline, the sequence, but if you just go to our webpage, dwr.virginia.gov, or just type in any part of our new name, and you'll get there and look for the regulation cycle, and and there will be an opportunity for public input at some point in the near future. And so if you want to make that comment, you go ahead and make it.
John,
No,
what's
absolutely.
the main forage right now that bass are honing in on? I mean, is it crawfish? Is it shad? Is it you know any other thing? I mean, what's the main forage that they're after right now?
Honestly, I don't know what to tell you on that, because I haven't done a food study on bass in the summer in a long time. So the only way to do that is a gastric lavage or some other technique if you don't want to sacrifice the fish, which
Yeah.
typically we don't kill bass
Right.
normally, and the gastric lavage is, you can do that and get some data out of it, but it's not something we normally focus on. So based on, and I already mentioned, snakeheads are going to be in a different habitat, so we can't really base our diet of bass on what snakeheads are eating. But what you mentioned, the crayfish, what I can tell you is if you're fishing around that hydrilla, as you probably noticed, and we see them a lot more because of the electricity, but late summer, the mats of hydrilla get covered up in crayfish. It's almost like popcorn popping when you hit the juice on them. And the
Really?
snakeheads switch over. The snakeheads switch over big time. They're an opportunist, to be sure, and bass are opportunistic as well. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't think at this time of year the bass are going to be eating a whole lot of shad. They're not, they're probably going to shy away from gizzard shad. But I think crayfish is probably a good option, especially if you're on the outside of a mat on a drop. But again, if it's a hungry fish, the metabolism's high, especially bass can known to be a little more finicky than a snake is when they're hungry. So but I honestly just kind of blowing wind at you because I don't know. I can't give you a solid answer to your question.
Okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think you cut up for a second, but I got the gist of most of it. And of course, bluegill. So it kind of explains why we have such good luck, why some of our anglers have such a success when it comes to using a jig, trying to punch through, flipping the jig, flipping docks, especially in the summertime. So with the F1 program for bass, let's kind of kick back over to the bass topic real quick. The F1 program has been in Virginia running now for what, 2-3 years or more?
Actually, longer than that. We sort of came up with not a rule or a stipulation, but we just sort of an in-house verdict on
I think we lost you for a second, John.
we would. Okay.
I think you froze up for a second. Oh, are you back, John? I think I heard you asking if we were here.
I can hear you all right.
Oh, you can't. Oh, okay. So I got that part. Greg, do you still got him too?
Good.
Yeah. He was cutting in and out, but yeah, go ahead.
Are we good?
Yeah, please continue, John.
Okay. So the F1, basically F1, for those that don't know, the F1 is the first generation cross between a pure Florida bass and a pure northern bass. Those are two different species. They used to be classified as subspecies, but now they're recognized as different species. And over the years, what we've ended up with in Virginia are a bunch of what we call grades or mutts, and we call them FXs because they're not the first generation cross. They're many generation crosses, and everything gets all wishy-washy. And if you go in, and the way to classify sort of the makeup of the genetic population is to look at the dudes. You don't want to do that on call. You guys still there?
Yeah, we're here, John. I just didn't want to interrupt you because I know it's the service is coming in and out with you, so we're getting bits and pieces. But I want everyone to hear, and I want to hear as well, what the answer was. So you're talking about the first generation between the two, and that's the northern largemouth and the Florida strain. Yeah, Greg, I think he's cutting in and out because of the reception, but I want him to stay on so he can, if he can.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, why don't we do a scoreboard check while he's...
Yeah, we can do that. Hang on one second here.
Right.
Are you back, John? If he's back, we'll keep on him. But otherwise, I'm gonna kind of gauge it based on how much we get for reception from him.
Yep.
So
what great info, though. You know, to have.
Oh my God, wealth of information.
It's so cool.
It is. I could listen to John talk about bass
he's a
and
local
fish
legend.
Populations.
He's a local legend around here.
Yes,
so.
he is. I got to say, you know, every time I talk to him, I constantly send him screenshots of like, hey, this is where I was going to be fishing. Is this a good spot? You know, or what do you think about this? He is a great guy. Oh, we got him back, I think. John, are you back?
Hey, Jim. Yeah, I'm here.
All right, buddy. Good. We got you back. I didn't want to interrupt you before, but we were getting bits and pieces. So I hate to ask you, but can you start over with the F1 program? I know you started with the mixing of the two. We got Florida strain.
So yeah, so the F1s, right? No. Once we back cross,
yeah, I think he's cutting out again.
Yeah,
so
man.
It may have to be something where if he's got to be in a better area, then we can try to bring him back in. John, I'm sorry, buddy, if you're getting bits and pieces of us too talking, but we definitely want to hear what you have to say if you get that part. Real quick, let me go ahead and switch over to the scoreboard while we're waiting on John to come back in. I'm going to refresh the scoreboard as well, so that way we can at least get the most up-to-date information. Give me 1 second. Let me hit refresh. Okay, so as I quickly take a gander. Ooh, okay. Hey, this is going to be good. So right now, Washington Warhawks taken out Privateer so far, 59.5, 28. That's what we've had. Pretty steady, pretty constant throughout the day. Texas Rough Riders against the Hogs right now. Hogs sit atop the leaderboard with quite a bit of breathing room, 121.25 over their 18.5. The Bandits taking out the Hurricanes so far by just a little bit. I'm talking just a little bit. One fish away from tying it up. Hurricanes nipping at their heels, 178.5 over the Hurricanes, 166.5. So Bandits atop that. Copperheads putting the snake bite on the Casters from Carolina, 169.75 over their 155.25. So what do you got your bet? What's your bet on right now, Greg?
I don't have a bet on anything right now. I'm a nervous wreck, dude. I'm just trying to keep my bait in the water, man.
I know, right?
We're trying to go after our first win, man. We've grinded all day, dude. This has been a tough day to fish, man. All the guys around us have just worked their butts off. It's hot as crap out here. My phone is fried twice. Literally I try to get on and my phone's overheated. It's been a tough day, man. They forecasted some wind today. The wind didn't come. It's been brutal. I mean, there's a little bit of cloud cover, but nothing much, man. And a lot of the anglers right now across the country kind of fighting the same conditions. We got low tide coming in now, man. Dude, I just want to secure this victory. As shallow as the victory is, with not being able to put up any kind of numbers, but Man, I hate seeing matchups like this grinder. It's like 4 versus 2 fish. But it is what it is, man. You got to fish the conditions and the cards that you're dealt. You know what I mean?
No, I agree 100%. And it gives you a chance when you are grinding up. As I said before, it gives you a chance to have those guys who really have that skill set honed in for the location they're at. Not to say that other anglers don't, but it gives them a chance to shine and to really, really, really punch through and bring that team for the home run. And if we're talking about right now, we have such bad cell reception amongst all anglers, to include their phones heating up. It makes you wonder how many fish have not been submitted. And I think John, let's see here. I think he's got himself muted. So if John, if you can hear us, whenever you're ready and you get reception, please let us know, buddy. So with that being said, though, you still have those guys who haven't submitted the fish to the board. Oh, John, are you back, buddy, with a steady stream?
I think so.
Okay.
It looks like I got some decent bars.
All right, outstanding. So I'll let you take it from there, buddy. And I apologize for the reception and getting cut out here.
Oh no, I think no problem at all. Okay, so to get back, the F1s, people call them a tiger bass. I prefer to just call them an F1, cross between a pure Florida and a pure northern. That's what we use to stock. Whether we're stocking tidal rivers, which we haven't done a whole lot lately. We had some experimental stockings on the Chickahominy that worked out really well, and also on the Rappahannock, which didn't work out that well. It's a numbers game. You have to stock a lot of fish to make a dent. So you have to look at what you're trying to accomplish with any stocking program. We're stocking tidal rivers. If we can make a difference by stocking enough fish, that means that we are trying to perhaps make up for a failed year class. Normally, Mother Nature, like we get a bad year class on the Potomac all the time, and nobody notices, because you've got 5 good ones around it, so it's not significant. But what happens is if you have a series of environmental events like floods or droughts for multiple years, then you have multiple consecutive failed year classes, and that creates a hole in the fishery that you don't notice immediately, because you're not catching 0 with 1 and 2-year-old fish. You're catching 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old fish. But 3 or 4 years down the road, after you have those consecutive failed year classes, that's when the phone starts ringing and people start screaming that there's no fish in the river. Well, that's because of what happened 3, 4, 5 years ago. The nice thing to know is, based on some modeling, we can sometimes predict that. And so if we have multiple failed year classes, what we may try to do, if it's possible, is stock fish to make up for that, so there's not jagging a hole years down the road.
Right.
So that's one time we might use F1s to stock, and that would typically. Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
I got you.
But I do have a question for you, man. I mean, has Virginia looked at the model that Texas has with the Share Local program, and looking at what they do? I think Virginia does a fantastic job with conservation, by the way, and you lead that up. But what we saw in Texas this year was absolutely astronomical with the Share Local program and so on and so forth. And then being able to take the DNA samples from those larger fish and recreating that DNA sample using that and try to increase that strain, so to speak, back into the population,
Right, and that's what we're trying to do with our stocking program of F1s. We've essentially started on a new stocking program with F1s, because the biggest bang for your F1 buck is the first generation. After the first generation, it washes out. At least that's the prevailing wisdom at this point.
Wow.
We can't do what Texas does, because we're not Texas in that latitude. Those are generally going to be pure Floridas. That's why, right. Florida, Southern California, Texas, those fish genetically are superior because they're pure Floridas. But we can't have pure Floridas in Virginia. We tried it; it doesn't work. Our winters are still too cold. The fish growth is terrible. They stunt, and you end up with a subpar fishery. We'd rather have northern, probably than pure Floridas. But that's why over time we've released almost an equilibrium, and odds have become. And that's what I was talking about before I cut out. I think one of those earlier times I was trying to explain that when we look at our existing populations now, they're in a level of about a minimum of about 30% alleles for Florida fish, which would be, say, our more northern fish like Occoquan Reservoir or even the Potomac River. The Virginia tributaries of the Potomac have generally very low percentage of Florida alleles versus Briery Creek or Lake Anna. So the
Yo,
Yeah, he was breaking up again. I heard Lake Anna was the last thing I
like
heard.
maybe in the fifth week. I got a couple bars.
Hey, John. Yeah, so we heard Lake Anna because you said you were going to find them in Lake Prairie and Lake Anna. Where were you taking it from there?
Right. So what we're trying to do now at Lake Anna is infuse that F1 first generation bump, because we're trying to get that big fish at Anna to be not an 8 or a 9, but to be 11 or a 12 or 13. And we think we can get there by using the first generation cross and having those fish contribute to the overall population, not in so much perhaps as a numbers way, but in the size way. So after we do this experimental stocking of these F1 fish, 8, 9, 10 years down the road, there's going to be a noticeable bump in tournament bags, winning bags, and also in big fish, because those fish are going to contribute. And if it works, we will look to try to infuse other populations in a similar fashion to get at, because at Anna we got plenty of fish. Right now the Anna fishery is as good as it's ever been, as far as I know. And we've got more fish, and we've got bigger fish than ever. We still think we can make it even better by adding just infusing a little bit of those F1s to give that bump down the road.
that's excellent, man. I mean, it's awesome to see that we're investing a lot of resources to making sure we have the best fisheries, and there's no doubt. I have a question for you. This is kind of arbitrary, but where in the world these bass go? Let's say the Potomac River. Where are they going in the wintertime, man?
Well, honestly, I've not done so. Like you asked me what kind of food they're eating right now. I cannot tell you exactly what kind of food they're eating right now, and I've never put a radio transmitter on a bass in the winter to see where they go. But I can tell you they don't go very, very far. Black bass generally, largemouth, especially in systems, whether they're reservoirs or large move, they're gonna. If there's even a modicum of decent habitat, there will remain. For instance, in Quantico Creek, I mentioned earlier the Eurasian milfoil. The architecture of that plant, and it doesn't break down as much as hydrilla does in senescence in the fall and winter. And so you still have some architecture of that plant and providing habitat. We were in Quantico Creek, water temperatures were in the high 30s in January, and we were finding good numbers of bass in 3 feet of water. And there were still decaying. Yeah, absolutely. And I was pretty shocked to see that.
Wow.
But yeah. And so you can find, and there's no discharge there. There's no thermal attraction.
No, there's not. You're right.
They Point switched over to natural gas from coal about 3 years ago, and so there's no real attraction for those fish to be there. And the snakeheads were there too, which was the one that blew my mind. Still not exactly sure what they were doing in there, but they should have been buried in the mud.
I was going to say, how did you even find them? You just say January, right? Did I mishear that?
Yeah, and we're normally not doing our surveys out there in January. We had a special request, and so we're kind of doing some experimental stuff. And lo and behold, we found a bunch of fish in Quantico Creek in 3 feet of water and 38 degrees of water in late January. So I can't explain it, but the blue cats, the gizzard shad, carp, snakeheads, and largemouth, they're all there.
So that's definitely going to be anomalous then, isn't it?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, if there's no
normally
precedence,
we start our bass surveys. We start our bass surveys in March, and the water's still pretty cold. And we start our snakehead surveys in March, when we see bass when we're not collecting.
God, I hate this reception today. I want to hear what he's saying.
It's been bad. It's been bad today.
Until April.
John, you still got us, right, buddy? Right when it started, I've
But
just
there you go.
okay. Sorry, John. It's the reception, buddy. Go ahead. You said maybe because there's the lack
No,
of
so what I was
precedence,
getting
right?
to was in March, and then we don't normally do a lot of surveys in the winter, but we do start in March for snakes. And when we're doing our snake surveys, we observe bass. We don't pick them up till April, but we do see them. And I can tell you that in March, when the water's still pretty cold, most of the bass we see are on the deeper range of the effectiveness of our boat, which is going to be about 5 or 6 feet, and they're on wood. I mean, everything we see is deep on wood in March. And so I would expect most of the times, that would be your best option for winter fishing. But again, I just explained the phenomena of Quantico Creek, and there's no wood where we were finding those bass. It's just well, if you,
I'm trying not to interrupt him because I know he keeps coming in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if conventional wisdom would suggest that you've got two groups that split off from after, for post-spawn, you've got, and John, if you're coming back, it's because you're cutting in and out, buddy. I didn't want to interrupt you. I really didn't, because we were locked on to what you were saying. But I think with the reception, we're getting bits and pieces right now. But it sounds like with the bifurcation for the bass, one group of bass is going shallow, the other bass is one group of bass is going deep in 3-4 foot of water. I have no idea what to explain for that. Even if you're finding snakehead, did you say you did have an explanation for that?
say again, Jim.
So that bifurcation post spawn for bass. So you got the one group that's going to go shallow. They're going to go up along the bank line, and you're going to be able to find those guys, those bass. And then you're going to have that population that does move deep, right? And that's post spawn. You were talking about the January timeframe, understanding that, and I always thought that bass are going to kind of play like that anyway. You're going to have those rogue bass along the bank lines, but it sounds like there's a lot of them that in the January timeframe in that location that you were at, that they were staying shallow.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I've learned over the years. I mean, sure, you can pattern stuff, but nature's always going to throw you curveballs. There's always exceptions. And in fact, probably more often than not, they're not going to be following whatever rule that I've decided they should be following, or you've decided they should be following.
Unfortunately, that's true. So, John, if you had to give, any kind of advice for bass conservation, for bringing the youth in to show them as well, but also for existing anglers that we have, what kind of advice would you give to us to help us out so we can give back?
Well, I mean, the education outreach that you were doing through the stuff that since I've known you has been spectacular, and I really appreciate that. My agency appreciates that, and it's I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. I mean,
no, I appreciate it. It's the first of all, it's the least that we can do. I mean, we're enjoying something that our grandfathers took us to do when we were kids, that our fathers took us to do when we were kids, and we want to be able to continue that cycle and that trend and show our children and our children's children. And honestly, if we don't have any kind of fishing or any kind of fish industry around us, we're going to have a complete collapse of our ecosystems. I mean, this is the thing that I've always had as a passion near and dear to my heart. But when I really started getting into tournament fishing and now part of KFL, and as you know, NBKBA, KBBT, all these other groups that we have, a lot of Ks, KBF, just as a broad spectrum across the board. We're here for the love of the sport, to do what we do because we love it, but also to give back and help preserve for future generations. Wealth of knowledge, as always. I cannot thank you enough. I know Greg and I definitely think the world of you when it comes to everything that you do. Hey, you're on the front lines, and God bless you. God bless you for everything you're doing, buddy.
Thank you, Jim, and God bless you guys out on the river today. It's a hot one out there.
It is. Hey.
It's not been the greatest, but John, I'm a big fan of yours, man. I've followed you kind of from behind and watching you and your work, man. And I'm a huge fan of yours. Thank you for what you do, buddy. We really do appreciate it, man.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate that compliment.
No,
yes, sir.
It's true. Absolutely. Well deserved, buddy.
Jim, we've got we've got 3 minutes, man, to go. Let's
Yep.
let's get a final scoreboard update before we get off the Prod Network, man.
Absolutely do that. And John, you can stay on and watch if you want, or otherwise we'll catch up with you later, buddy. I'll text you later on and we'll talk. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John. Take care, buddy. What a great guy. Okay, so here we go. Let me go ahead and refresh everything that we have. As I switch over to my tab. So right now we've got, it's 12:56. All right, let's see where we're sitting right now. Norfolk Privateers trailing behind the Washington Warhawks right now, 59.5 with the Warhawks. Privateers bringing up the rear with 28 inches. Great teams on all ends, but I got to say right now, this tough grind has definitely proven difficult for both of them. Arkansas Hogs, 121.25 over the Southeast Texas Rough Riders with 18.5 inches on the board. Now this is to say that it doesn't mean it's the final tally. It just shows you where we're at right now because there's still plenty of fish, I'm sure, sitting in the queue,
and they're
waiting
also
to be submitted.
They're also an hour behind. So
Roger that. So then we got the Hurricanes against the Bandits. Lone Star Bandits leading the board right now just by a little bit, just barely out of touch, 178.5 over 169.75. So that's, again, the Bandits over the Hurricanes. Copperheads slightly slid away, 169.75 over the Carolina Castors, 155.25. So, John,
what a comeback by the Carolina.
I know.
Castors.
I said that.
What a comeback.
And that's the thing. You can't take away from them when you know.
And it's 3-on-4.
Oh, it is.
Yes, sir.
Hang on. Let me bring this up real quick. Let me click on the band. A lot of fish that got to be officiated. I've been so busy with all this too.
Yeah, Jim, you did an awesome job, buddy.
Oh no, thank you. I'm just glad for the opportunity. I'm so appreciative of the opportunity. Let me tell you, I love doing this with you guys, and I love being part of the team. So, I certainly thank you for everything and all the opportunities. It's one of those things that I look forward to doing, and I have a passion for this as well as you all do. So. I wish I could have been on the water with you guys today. I would have grinded it out. I'm all about that too. All about that.
It's a scorcher, bro.
Hey, I know. So it's funny because after this, later on in the day, I'm gonna head over to Tim's River Show because they're gonna be doing the award ceremony for MVKBA. So I'm gonna give them a hard time as well. I think Mike's gonna be there. Are you gonna head over there too?
I don't know if I am or not, man. It depends on what Norfolk wants to do, man. It's gonna be tough for me to get up there, man.
No, I get it.
Yeah, because we got to get ready for tonight. We got to broadcast again here between 5 and 6. So,
Roger that. So, yeah. So at this point, with everything that we've got on the board that we see, we still have an hour for a couple of other teams. Talk to me about what's going on with just a quick minute with the Ambassadors and the Appalachian Anglers. Motor City Ambassadors against the Appalachian Anglers.
Yeah, man. I mean, they're on the New River in West Virginia. West Virginia has a home game. Again, big game for West Virginia, man. Right now, Motor City has a tiebreaker head-to-head against West Virginia. They also own the points spread. So it's really important that West Virginia does well, not only beats them, but also puts up a good point spread against them to knock Michigan down a little bit, man. So, it's something that they're going to have to rear back, know their waters, fish it well, and hopefully a bad, they're going to have a bad day for Michigan. But again, I mean, I was talking to some of the Michigan guys. I mean, some of them don't feel comfortable in the water. Some of them do. So, it could be a 1 or 2 man show out of there, but I don't know, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch and see what they do. Yeah, for sure. To see how things do end up, especially when you got guys who are going to be out of their comfort zone. I agree. So, All right. With that being said, hey, it's almost 1300 on the dot. I appreciate everything today for everyone. By the way, if it holds true, Washington Warhawks gets its first win. Woo! Yeah. Hell yeah. Heck yeah. As I say, when John came on, he did the same thing I did my first time on the broadcast when I was fishing. Yeah. Well, that's it. 1 o'clock, guys. We're out of here. Thank you, Jim. Thank you guys so much. Remember 22 days, 22 too many. You guys stay safe out there, and best of luck to y'all. Yep. Take care. Take care.